Hi guys, Lisa McCarthy here. I'm jumping on live today to talk about 5 ways to sell your product online. I'm super excited to share this with you guys because I know that it's a question that's been coming up a lot in our private Facebook group around which e-commerce platform you should be using. And then it also gets a little bit complicated in terms of how they all link together, which has the lowest fees, which is the easiest to use. So I'm going to be walking through that today. Just to introduce myself, if you're new to the Facebook page, my name is Lisa McCarthy and I am the founder of youraddict.com, which is an online space where I share resources and information for women that are looking to start their own clothing line. If you've already started, it's a great place for you to check out so that you can really turn it into a profitable business. So we go over lots of things on there about promoting your brand, how to manage your production, costing, all sorts of information. And I'm jumping onto Facebook Live every Friday at noon to give you a hot tip to get you motivated, as I know a lot of you are doing a lot of your work on your line over the weekend. So to get you motivated and focused on what you should be working on. So today, jumping right in, is all about those 5 ways to sell your product online. So I know it can be really, really confusing what all the different platforms are, what's different, and they're all great if it's what you're planning for your business. So again, I think you're gonna really need to look at what are your personal goals for your business. And there is a bunch of information on the website around setting goals that are aligned with your values so that you're really building a business that's going to set you up for something that you're really excited about and is actually going to be profitable. So check that out over on the website. Just search values or goals on the website and you should be able to find those blog posts. I can also link them after in the show notes. So I'm going to walk through the first one on my list is talking a little bit about Etsy selling. So Etsy is a platform that I'm sure most of you are very familiar with. I just want to talk a little bit about what's different about Etsy compared to different online selling tools that are out there. So the biggest thing that's different about Etsy is it's a community of people that have come together that are all selling, started out as originally handmade products, and they also sell vintage products, which we're not going to talk about specifically here, but they've also expanded into allowing people to sell products that they've designed but don't produce, as long as you're disclosing that in your Etsy shop. So why this is great is if it's something that you're starting out with sewing a couple pieces at home and you want a low barrier to entry, so something that's pretty easy for you to offer it up to a large market, they already have an established marketplace of people that are looking for goods. So people will go to, people will go to Etsy looking for products. So there's less marketing that's required that you would need, say, if you were driving somebody to your standalone website. So this is a really good place to start out if you're really small and just want to test out your product, because there are already built-in shoppers on that platform. Some of the cons is that it has some of the highest fees of any of the platforms that we're talking about today. So they do charge you to a listing fee. So everything that you post up onto the website is charged a fee. Then there's also a selling fee. So a percentage of your sale price goes to Etsy. And then there's also a transaction fee. So there's like a piece that would go to your payment partner that you're also losing. The fees aren't huge, but as you start to do more and more volume, those fees don't go away. You keep paying every single time that you sell something. So as your business grows, it's not a great way to scale because you're going to continue to pay money to Etsy over and over and over again for every single one of those sales. So I would say really that's the biggest con of Etsy. The other thing that you need to consider on Etsy is that you can't control the user experience because they do have access to all of those other shops. So you are competing with somebody else that's selling a very similar product, and it's really easy for your customer to click over and all of a sudden be in somebody else's shop. Whereas if it was on your own website, they've come to your website, they're going to click around, but they're only going to see your product. So no matter what they click on, they're going to be buying something from you. So there's less chance to lose your customer to somebody else. I did a little bit of work behind the scenes to really look at what is the cost of each of these shops. I looked at it, if you were selling 500 pieces of something, which I know sounds like a lot to some of you, but you want to think about if you are growing this into a profitable business, you are going to need to scale and actually start selling more than 1, 5, 10, 20 units. So looking at selling 500 pieces over a 6-month period of a product that was $40, I looked at the Etsy shop. I'm just going to look at my notes here. You would be spending a total of $1,500, $1,525 in fees just to sell those units. So that's something that it seems like 25 cents here for the listing fee and 40 cents here for a transaction fee. It doesn't seem like a lot of money, but when that starts adding up over multiple purchases, it really does add up to a big chunk of money that you're giving to Etsy. So just be aware of that. And then that would continue to go on. If you sold 1,000 pieces, you're still going to be paying those fees. It's not like they cap out, they keep going. So that's one of the biggest downsides to Etsy, I would say, is that their fees are really high if it is something where you're trying to grow a profitable business. If you're selling stuff because you just want to try it out and you're really enjoying the work of making and you're only selling a couple of things, Etsy's a great platform to sell a few items. But if you're selling lots of products, high volumes, trying to turn this into an actual business, I would recommend either getting off of Etsy pretty quickly or going to one of the other sellers that I'm going to talk about. So the next seller on my list is what I kind of recommend as my easiest go-to startup online selling platform for a new designer, which is Shopify. So why I recommend Shopify so much is because it is really easy to set up and navigate as somebody who doesn't necessarily have a lot of experience with setting up and building websites. So some of the other options that I'm going to talk about require not only more customization of your website, so more things that you actually need to go and build in yourself, but they also offer, the other things offer a lot more choices, which if you're somebody that's really savvy is great. And if you're somebody that's like, I don't know what payment gateway to pick, why do you have 40? It can be really, really overwhelming for somebody that's just starting out and really just wants to get their product online so that people can start buying. So Shopify integrates really easily with like a single payment platform that charges you fees that are a little bit higher than some of the other people that I look at. But from a simplicity standpoint, I would say that Shopify is definitely your go-to if you want to set up a store quickly and actually start making sales. So what Shopify really is it's a platform that allows you to build your own standalone website. They offer within that the ability for you to get your own domain name. So you'd be able to put your brand name in the website. And they will support you with getting hosting for that, which is basically somebody in the background that runs your website for you. So the great thing about Shopify is that you will have your own website that your customer can go to that is wholly your brand, so you can control that experience. And you also don't have the issues that you had with Etsy that, oh, they see something pop up in the sidebar and it's actually somebody else's shop. So they navigate away from shopping on your website. So you get to control all of that there. Some of the cons are that you have to really develop a clear brand. You're not going to be able to just pop it up with with a logo. You're going to need some imagery to support your brand if you are really going to set up a professional looking website. And not that that's a bad thing, because these are all things that you do want to think through, but it is something that's going to take you a little bit of time. So I know Shopify really says that it's quick. You can build your website, in a day, and you might be able to actually physically build it, but figuring out the name of your brand, your logo, the imagery that goes along with it, all of your product, all of the information that goes around that is quite time consuming. So if you're going to do a good job of that, it's going to take a little bit more time to get those assets to actually put into your website so that you can launch with putting a professional foot forward in terms of what your brand experience looks like. Another con on the Shopify platform is that you don't have that built-in community of people that are already going there. So there aren't people going to whatever yourdesign.com is, because whereas on Etsy, there are people that are just going to Etsy.com and then, oh, your stuff popped up. So you're losing the ability to have customers coming to you even before you show up. So that is kind of the main con about doing it on your own website. But I think that stuff is outweighed by some of the other benefits. So looking at the pricing model for Shopify, I did the same thing. So looking at if you were selling 500 pieces of a $40 product over the course of 6 months, you'd actually save $500 by doing that with Shopify. And then over time, of course, the next 6 months, you'd save that money over again because the prices for Etsy don't go away. They just keep going every single transaction that you make. So from a financial standpoint, as you grow and as you sell more product, you're going to be able to keep more of that money in your pocket if you go with an online platform like Shopify, or the next guy that I'm going to talk about, which is BigCommerce. So number 3, BigCommerce is very similar to Shopify in that you sign up with them, you get your domain name, and then you use their system to run your e-commerce website. So what I've been trying to dig into is really what is the difference between Shopify and BigCommerce. And what I've been able to garner is that the level of complexity of BigCommerce is great if you want to have all of those different options. They have more integrations with more systems, and as somebody starting out small, that can actually be really difficult for you to navigate. There are more decisions to make, more things that you need to learn about, more kind of wormholes to go down when you're looking for an easy setup plug and play. BigCommerce doesn't offer that as much as Shopify. Even when I was doing my research and trying to figure out what the pricing model is for BigCommerce, you can't really figure it out because depending on which third party you decide to process all of your transactions through, they all have different pricing structures. And then when I looked at it, there were at least 20 on there, probably more than that. And am I really going to sit down and click through each one of those, read their terms and conditions for what their pricing is, and then find out which one makes the most sense? Probably not. Like for me, that was a barrier. That's a barrier to entry right off the bat to say, is this really the type of platform that I want to use? If it's not user friendly, it's just like, tell me what it is. I'm going to start rolling on this. For somebody that is really interested in that and finds that stuff cool and wants to research it and learn it, and that's how they want to spend their time, great. This could be a really, really good option for you. The other thing that I noticed on the BigCommerce site is that you can't look at their templates unless you actually sign up with an account to start a shop with them. So both Shopify and BigCommerce do like a free trial at the beginning. So you could just sign up for a free trial and start poking around, which I actually do recommend if the website is going to be something that you're managing yourself, is really which one feels better for you, because there is a lot of management in the background that you're going to need to do. So best to try them out. But with BigCommerce, that you can't even see those templates up front, makes me go like, ooh, well, are they really the templates that you want to be using for your shop? And even though I couldn't get in and look at them exactly, I was able to do some research, and what the way that Shopify has set up their integrations with people, they actually have a much bigger marketplace of people that are creating templates for their stores. So Shopify is offering more free templates as well as more custom templates that you could purchase than BigCommerce is offering. So there is a larger user base on Shopify, and because there are more people using it, there are also more people that are building tools for it, like templates, like apps that plug into that. So again, I would say that it's unfortunate, but that's one of the cons for BigCommerce, is that less people are using it. So there are less people actually building functionality into it. One thing that, like I said, what I found really difficult trying to figure out the fee structure of WooCommerce. When I just kind of picked one and I looked at the fee structure for kind of their baseline integration. And it did look like you were able to save a few $100s over that 6-month period that I had plugged in your 6 months of 500 units. You were able to save a few $100s, but even the time that it took me to dig in and figure all of that out is not something that you want to necessarily be doing as a small business owner, is trying to figure out how to navigate your e-commerce tool. So if there's anybody on here or anybody watching the replay that wants to send me their feedback of BigCommerce and I'm sort of getting the wrong idea based on the initial interactions that I'm having with their website and setting up an account, I'd love to hear about it. I want to hear other people's experience with that if it is different than mine. So shoot me a message or drop a comment if your experience is different than that. So just recapping, the first one we talked about was Etsy. The second was Shopify. The third one was BigCommerce. So Shopify and BigCommerce, very similar in terms of what they offer, which is an online selling platform. The fourth guy that I'm going to talk about right now is WooCommerce, which I know when you're hearing all of these things pop around in your head, they can all sound a little bit similar, BigCommerce and WooCommerce. The difference with what WooCommerce is it is not an online store the way that Shopify and BigCommerce, you buy their product and you have your own store set up. What WooCommerce is it's a plugin basically that you'd plug in to a website that you already have. So WordPress is one of the biggest website builders that people use. It's what Your Attic is set up on. And WooCommerce is something that you can basically plug into your WordPress site so that you can start selling product on your website that you already have. Because it's not its own selling platform where you just buy that thing and you have it there, it is more complicated. So it's even more complicated than what I was talking about with BigCommerce. You're going to have to set up your own website hosting. You're going to have to get your own domain name. You're going to have to build your own website with WordPress, which you can do through templates, and there are thousands out there. There are free ones, there are customized ones that are premium ones that you can buy within the WordPress shop. You can buy them on a bunch of websites, Creative Commons, lots of different places. It can get very, very overwhelming. It's definitely not plug and play like Shopify is or BigCommerce is. But it does have, because you're kind of piecing all of these things together and you're doing a lot of the work, it doesn't have it's not even high cost of the other ones. It doesn't have as high a cost as the other things. So you're really, when I was looking at it, your fees for WooCommerce were cheaper than Shopify or for BigCommerce. But the caveat to that is you have to build your own website. You have to do all of that work. And I know for a lot of people that are starting up their own clothing line, you're already building a product. Do you really want to also be building a website? Some people, that's absolutely not a big deal for them. It's something that they can manage and figure out, and they'll do it. Other people are going to want to outsource that. If you're going towards outsourcing and paying somebody to do it, I would highly discourage that and would recommend that you go with one of the more plug and play easy options like Shopify or BigCommerce, just so that you can get it running and then you can manage it in the background by yourself. You're not going to want to pay somebody ongoing fees to manage your website and your WooCommerce plugin. If you already have your own website, if you already have your own blog or your own something like a blog where you're not selling product, it might be pretty easy for you just to plug in WooCommerce. But if you are starting from scratch and your real intent is to sell your physical product online, then I would recommend going with one of the other guys. Looking at the fees for WooCommerce, it was a little bit more difficult to calculate what that is because there are a range of options for every single step along the process that you need to sign up for. So you would need to sign up for your hosting for your website, and you could go to many different sources. You could go to Bluehost, you could go to GoDaddy, you could go to all of these different people, and they all offer different things. So again, research time and then effort of actually doing it. Then also buying your domain name. You could go to a bunch of different places, not very expensive, but the decision making about connecting all of that takes a little bit of time. You're going to need to pick a website theme. You're going to need to pay for that. So it could be anywhere from free to a few $100s. And again, I'm going to emphasize the time in making that decision and figuring out the right one is a lot. I know even for myself, the amount of time that I spend with like tinkering around with the layout of things on my website is that's invaluable time that you could be spending on actually making or promoting your product. And then they also have plugins that you'll need to use, sorry about that, to actually process your transactions. So again, like BigCommerce, there are multiple options that you can use. Some of them are very affordable in terms of just offering you like a transaction fee, like a small percentage, like any credit card would be. If you're like when you use your credit card at the grocery store pays a small fee to that credit card company. So there are small transaction fees for every single transaction that you're making, but that kind of happens no matter how you're selling product to anyone, unless you're doing cash. So from a cost perspective, WooCommerce, of those four that we've sort of gotten to, is the least expensive, but it does take the most effort from like a time, design, actually spending time building out your website, which I know that a lot of people are just like, don't want to deal with any of that, which I get. It's not your number one most important thing for you to be doing. You want to be managing building your product, not managing building a website. Then going on to my number 5 way to sell online is something that you've probably been hearing a lot about and has rolled out in the US before it's rolling out where I am in Canada, and that's Facebook selling. So if you have your company set up with a business page on Facebook, similar to the way that I'm doing my Facebook Live today. This is through my my like company's business page. So if you have that set up for your clothing line, there's an area within like the left-hand column called Shop, where you can load in your products and sell them, I'm going to use my air quotes, on Facebook. The reality is, in the US is really the only place right now where Facebook will allow the actual transaction to happen. In other places, it links back to your e-commerce site so that the transaction of actually selling that thing gets processed on your online platform that you've set up. So the 3 biggies that Facebook integrates with right now is with Shopify, BigCommerce, and WooCommerce. So if you had selected any of those 3, you would be able to, on your business page on Facebook, upload your products and then promote those products on your page by saying like, hey guys, I just released a cute new dress. Check it out. Isn't it pretty? And then when people click on that, in the US, if you signed up for it, they'll be able to process that transaction directly through Facebook, so actually pay you through Facebook. Outside of the US, it would drive that customer to your Shopify store, your BigCommerce store, or your WooCommerce store, where the transaction would be processed. So then you would end up with the transaction fees that are whatever they were from your website. The cool thing about this is if that transaction happens through Facebook in the US, from what I've been able to gather, there is no transaction fee for that, which is great because your fees are reduced. And there are a lot of Facebook buy and sell groups where you can promote your product. So people will go in and say, hey, they say ISO, I'm in search of this thing. And you would be able to say, hey, I have a Facebook product from my page that you can purchase. And they would be able to purchase it online without all of those additional transaction costs that you have with your larger platform, such as Shopify. So from what I'm seeing from like an industry perspective, there's probably going to be more of a shift to Facebook marketplaces. It's going to be really interesting to see how that expands as it goes to other countries and they add additional functionality onto that. I would again say that this is a case for getting off of Etsy if you're trying to scale and getting into a Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce store, so that you can take advantage of that integration and they get pushed directly to your website and will actually be able to buy it, rather than, oh, now you guys are direct messaging, can you give me your credit card number, and which isn't nearly as secure, and definitely people don't feel as comfortable with that. So again, it makes a lot of sense to have your own presence on your own website. The other great thing about Facebook selling is, this is kind of like a bonus. So that was our 5, where I'm just going to recap them super quick. Etsy, number 1, Shopify, number 2, BigCommerce, number 3, WooCommerce, number 4, and then Facebook selling, number 5. And then the bonus for today is Instagram selling. So I know that a lot of people are using Instagram as a great promotion tool for their brand. And this is driving traffic to their website. One of the difficulties around that is, even with a business account in Canada right now, it's different in the US, you can only supply one web address. So if you're promoting your new t-shirt in your Instagram post, if you don't go back up into your profile and update the address to that t-shirt, when somebody clicks on the website in your profile, it's not going to take them to the right place. So they're not going to be able to go, I like that t-shirt, click buy. They're going to have to go, I like that t-shirt, click to your home page, navigate, search for it. Did I find it? Did I get distracted by something else? And while you can always be updating that web address in your profile to navigate back to your most recent featured item, what if somebody's 5 pictures down? So what if they're looking at the short that you posted 2 days ago and they want to buy that? They're going to have the same problem of having to navigate. So what Instagram has done in the US for select customers or select businesses is the ability to add shoppable links within your within your Instagram image, so that they can actually attach like these little white circles that people can click on, and you've probably seen them on there. You can click on that, it'll lead you to a page that has information about the pricing in that product. And then if you click to learn more, it drives you directly to your e-commerce website. Instagram and Facebook are friends. So Instagram is pulling your ability of what products you can sell on Instagram from that Facebook shop. So right now, this is where I'm talking about kind of like the future of where we're getting to. Right now, shoppability in Facebook seems kind of weird, not like something people are really doing, but you want to get that Facebook shop set up, because in the US right now, it's an amazing tool for people to be able to look through your Instagram feed and be like, that's cute, I want that short, and they'll literally can click on it and go and purchase it. And it doesn't expire in the same way that you have to constantly be loading in just one URL to your website. All of those stay within there so that people can constantly be clicking to an assortment of products, not just like the one thing that you highlighted today. So that's another reason to get that shop set up within Facebook. This functionality hasn't fully rolled out to the rest of the world yet. Hoping to see it coming to Canada soon. I just started noticing the actual shoppable clicks within Instagram, and I don't know if that's because people in the US are just starting to pick up on it, or if it's a new thing that in Canada we could only recently see it. But this is definitely like a growth strategy for them in terms of a way for more people to be promoting their business and actually making sales right through Instagram. So again, just kind of summarizing all of this, your experience is going to be really different depending on what you want to do with your business. But I want you to start thinking about not just, oh, I want to sell this one t-shirt today, or I want to sell this one pair of baby leggings today. But it's, as my business grows, how do I set it up at the beginning so that I'm set up to actually build on that same platform without having to switch from one platform to another based on the size that you've gotten to. So my recommendation for the majority of people to get up and running super quickly would be to get up a Shopify shop, get your business page on Facebook, put your products in there, and then promote on Instagram. And those things together all have integrations and are all going to allow you to start promoting your product to your customer where they are, whether that's on Instagram or on Facebook, and then driving the traffic directly to where you can sell it and control your user experience at a lower cost than, say, Etsy on a tool like Shopify or BigCommerce. So that's not going to be what everybody needs to do, but I want you to know sort of the roadmap of where your business could grow to, so you don't just start out on Etsy because it's the only thing that you know is out there. If you guys have any questions about any of these or any different experience than what I've talked about, I would love to see some comments below. You guys drop a note about what your experience was. I'd also be happy to answer any other questions or dig into anything else that you're looking for. But overall, I hope that gave you kind of a good idea of what your roadmap to selling online could look like. I'm going to take a little bit of time in a future video to talk about selling to boutiques. I really think that online shopping for a small business owner, or online selling for a small business owner, is the best way to go when you first start out. The costs that are associated with selling to a boutique just like are so much higher because you're losing half of your profit right off the bat. So if you're talking about that $40 t-shirt or pair of shorts or whatever, you sell that to a boutique, you've just lost $20. So yes, you don't have to manage your e-commerce store and all of that, but you don't get that money back. So as a small business, you're going to be able to make so much more profit up front that you can reinvest in your business by launching online, that I really, really think that that's the best way to go. There are definitely opportunities to sell to some boutiques just to get your name out there and to get in front of the right customer. But I would say that should be like a smaller part of your strategy starting out. And it's always beneficial to have a beautiful website that you can send those boutiques to so that they become familiar with your brand. So we'll talk a bit about that in a future episode. But for now, if you have any comments or questions about this, just drop them below. And if you found this useful and think anybody else kind of within your community could use the same information, I'd love it if you give a share and send it over to anybody else on Facebook. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you guys again next week. I'll be doing the same thing next week live at 12 o'clock Pacific time on Friday. See you then. Bye.